Hey everyone, what's happening? Please take a second to hit the subscribe button and enjoy the video.
There we go. Welcome to Captain's Score. I'm backstage the entire time, and the three gentlemen is hanging out at the stairs, ready to serve you drinks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Captain's Score, everybody. This is your opportunity, your chance to ask us anything you ever wanted to know. But life at sea, our jobs, our personal lives, we love those questions. And I always like to say, if we don't know the answers, we're just going to make them up as we go along this afternoon. You won't know the difference. But sharing this time with us today, I'm going to let them... Your mic should be on. I'll share their time with us this afternoon. We do have our chief engineer, our hotel director, and of course our captain. I'm going to let them introduce themselves one at a time. So I'm going to start down at the end. Chief, tell everybody about yourself.
Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Witold. I'm coming all the way from Poland, and I'm chief engineer. A chief engineer is in charge of all technical areas and activities around the ship. I'm 15 years with Royal Caribbean. 4 years on Navigator. I'm looking forward for this meeting.
There we go. Sanjay.
Good afternoon. My name is Sanjay. I work on board as hotel director and I come all the way from India. I've been working with Royal Caribbean for 16 years. Out of 16, I worked on 9 different ships. I started off working as an executive chef for a year and a half, food and beverage, and now hotel director for almost about 13 years. What I do is I oversee the entire guest experience. So any questions you have about hotel operations, please feel free.
And there we go. And last but not least, Captain.
Good afternoon, everyone. Have you got sea legs? It's gradually coming. My name is Trond. I come from Norway. Actually born and raised in the northernmost town in the world. It's over the hills and far away at 70 degrees and 40 minutes north. And that's also where I started at sea 38 years ago. And then I was at the Norwegian version of the Deadliest Catch, and I did my grades there. And then I went more to school and got bigger licenses. And the first time I went to cruise ships, it was in this company in 1988. On a small tiny ship called Sun Viking. Any one of you that have been cruising with Sun Viking? Yeah. Well, I can tell you that when I was coming there, I was saying, oh my God, because it was so huge. Today it's a different story. The biggest ships today, they are several times as big as Sun Viking is. I also been away from the company for a while, and then I was working as a teacher, educating people, becoming captains at a college in Norway. And I also been working for Norwegian Maritime Authorities as a principal surveyor. But I returned back to the company again in the year of 2000. And since then I stayed here. So obviously I enjoy to be in Royal Caribbean. And I've been on 7 to 8 ships in this fleet, and I've been a captain on 4 ships in this fleet. So that's me in a nutshell.
All right, now we're going to open up the floor. We do have Antonio and DJ Tic Tac right up here. Come on down the aisles, guys, so we can see. If you just have a question, just raise your hand. We'll try to get as many questions this afternoon as possible. We're going to start right down here. Tic Tac's right beside you, right here.
Hi, my name is Pam Watkins. I'm from Powder Springs, Georgia, and I have a question for Captain Tron. Have you ever rescued anyone at sea, like just been on a cruise and seen somebody out there at sea waiting to be rescued?
On cruise ships, I've taken part of rescue operations, yes. But I haven't rescued anyone that we have found from other incidents and so on, but I've been a part of man overboard and so on, and we have retrieved people, yes.
This is Ron Smith from Lewis, Delaware. I'd like to know what the work schedule is. Like, do they work, the crew works 3 months on, 1 off? How does that work?
That varies a little bit depending on where you're working on board, and also maybe on organizations. Me and Chief, for instance, we are the privileged ones. Strong unions once upon a time, and we are working 10 weeks on and 10 weeks off. And then it varies depending on positions and Sanjay.
In the hotel, what happens is anybody with 2.5 stripes and above, they work 4 months on and 2 months off. And then thereafter it depends upon the position. There are some position they work for 5 months on, 5 weeks off. Some work for 6 weeks on, 6 weeks on and 6 weeks off. It all depends upon the position which you carry.
Tic-tac, you got one there? No? We got somebody right down here. Tic-tac.
What is, Joe Weiner, San Diego, California, has been your most dangerous or challenging experience at sea?
Most dangerous and challenging is so on, there's always a risk involved with what we're doing. And if you experience a fire, that can be pretty dangerous because there's only one option, you have to kill it. And otherwise, I've been in a lot of cruise ships really in dangerous situations because of the weather, but I've been on other ships where it has been dangerous because of the weather. But a cruise ship like Navigator of the Seas or any ship in our fleet has such a good stability and they are so big, so there isn't really any weather that is extremely dangerous. And like me and Drew, for instance, we went together into Hurricane Irene with Monarch of the Seas. So I've been around a little bit and so on, but I remember when we worked on trawlers up in the north. We were around 80 degrees north, and then we had so bad weather that I remember I was sitting in my chair and suddenly I was in the air and fall down. So it can be rough, yes.
Taylor, Atlanta. I have 3 questions. Would you like them all in one lump or one at a time? First of all, do you ever encounter any whales on this particular voyage? Second of all, what happens to all of that leftover food? And on that note, third, and many of the women in the crowd, it's very important, how do you get the lipstick stains, etc., out of the table linens?
Well, that's a question to several of us. I start with whales. Yes, I actually saw a whale, was it 2 days ago? And the whales are migrating at this time. And they are actually following a route where they are close to the Azores and so on. So there's a big chance that all the way over to Lisbon that you can see whales. Yeah, that's a big, big chance. I will tell the people on the bridge that if they spot whale, that they go on the PA system and tell you about that. I will do that. In regards to food waste and so on, well, there's a lot of leftover and so on, and I can take the funny part and then the chief can take the other part. And the funny part is that of course we grind it up and then we take it into the sea, the fishes are eating it, and then the fishermen are taking the fish, and then we buy it from the fishermen and then we serve it again.
Like Captain said, there is always leftover for food, but generally the food is so good that we don't have too much leftover. Anyway, like Captain said, the food is collected in the tanks, grinded and pumped overboard to over 12 nautical miles. That's simple feeding the fish.
Yeah, in regards to the third question, how do we take the lipstick marks off from the napkins? We are using a powder called Tide. We do have a laundry downstairs, and we have a good team of laundry, and it's a commercial, it's a heavy-duty laundry, so there is a team of laundry attendant working 24/7 to ensure that, you know, all the cleaning protocols are taking place.
My name is Keith from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've noticed looking through the observation window onto the bridge that the stabilizer, there's a little sign that says stabilizer is housed. Does that mean they're out or does that mean they're in? If they're in, why are they in and not out?
If a stabilizer is housed, you know, then you have a light, then it's housed, of course, then it's in. But on the panel there, the lights are on all the time. And we are actually using the stabilizers now. We took them out early yesterday, and we have been using them since then. And since we are talking about the stabilizers and so on, they are gyro stabilized, and we have a lot of sensors around the ship. So as soon as the ship is moving, then they get tilted a little bit and get a lift the opposite direction. That's the way they work. In many ways, just like the wing on an airplane. However, we need to understand that it only works on the rolling movements. It doesn't work on pitching movements. And there is actually no systems that exist that reduce the pitching. Then I also want to tell you that we are expecting more swell. At the moment, now we have approximately 4 meters swell, and it will increase during the evening and have a peak tomorrow morning. And the peak will be around 20 feet swell. Jeez. But it's a very long swell, but then again, it will move the ship a little bit. But the good news is that then tomorrow afternoon it will start to be better. And the last sea day should be pretty okay.
I'm Frank from Phoenix, Arizona.
Yay!
Can you explain? Thank you very much. Check with my press agent. My question is, can you explain to the fellow passengers why we utilize pilot boats when arriving and departing, or do we? I know on other cruise lines, I know a skipper told me once that it's mandatory that all ships use pilot boats coming in and out of port. And what the reason for it, obviously, is they probably know the harbors a little bit better than the skipper. It always puzzled me. But I guess it's another way to make some bucks.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and you actually gave the answer there. And it is mandatory, compulsory to have a pilot in all the places around the world. And we pay a quite high fee for that. And then we get a pilot coming on board, which is, former mariner, normally captains that becomes pilots. And they have the local knowledge. And the local knowledge is not only about the underwater topography and everything and currents, but it also has to do with the traffic in and out of port. So they have quite a high value for us. In many places we let the pilots con the boat. In all US ports we let them do that. Also when we get to Europe we let them do that. But on the other hand, they are not taking the command of the vessel. So that means that we need to monitor the pilots all the time. And if the pilots are doing things that we don't like, then we relieve them of the con. And that is how it works. And then you have some places in the world, there could be, let's say, some of the islands down in the Caribbean, and smaller places. They are not conning the ship, and then I used to call them for the best paid coffee drinkers in the world.
Hi, at this point we're very far away from the U.S. shore and the European shore. And if something really serious happened, like engines failed, or whatever, I mean, there are a number of reasons that could cause distress for this ship. How far away are either neighboring craft, whether air or watercraft, to provide assistance, and what kind of assistance could be provided?
Yeah, that's also a good question, but then again, we are in the middle of the Atlantic, and it is pretty far away to the closest shore, so we cannot just make a phone call and get immediate assistance. And that is why all ships have very strong regulations in regards to safety equipment, also in regards to the structure of the vessel, how it's built. And since we are going with passengers, we have a lot of passengers, we also have a medical facility. can deal with most things. And then still, if you are in the middle of the Atlantic, and it is a common thing in the merchant navy that we are obliged to assist people or other vessels in distress. And when ships are coming in distress in the middle of the ocean, then messages are being sent out, of course, emergency messages, and then the ships that are in the area, they will automatically then go towards to assist. And then there's also quite big navy resources on all the world's oceans. And I do believe that you have American vessels around the Atlantic, you have a lot of other vessels around the Atlantic, navy ships, and they will of course also assist in case anything should happen. But then again, we have an extremely strong safety organization and a safety regime in absolutely everything we are doing. So even though things can happen, most likely it will never happen.
My name is Denise. I'm from Smithtown, New York. I was wondering, what if somebody is very, very sick in the middle of the ocean? How do they get them off the boat if they have a serious emergency?
As I said, we have a fully equipped medical facility on board, and we have 2 doctors, and they are specialized. And we also have several nurses, and we can take care of everything. However, there could be situations when it is possible that we want to evacuate guests. But in the middle of the ocean, then we are out of reach for, let's say, helicopters. And like now, for instance, our closest land, it is actually Punta Delgada. So you can say the reach for a helicopter from Punta Delgada will be approximately 200 nautical miles. But then again, I want to go back to naval resources that are around. They often have helicopters. They also have bigger medical facilities than we have. And very often, if we get a real medical emergency, we get assistance there.
Dave from Toronto, Canada. I noticed the ship uses a fair amount of fuel. What's the range of the ship? How long will it take to fill it back up, and what's the cost?
Total number of fuel can be 3,600 metric tons. Shortly, I can say with the 4 engines online, in this moment we are using approximately 10 tons per hour. It means 2,600 gallons. That's a huge consumption. We are refilling the ships, of course, depends on the voyage. Every 2 weeks, we are taking more or less 2,000 tons per 2 weeks to our tanks. That means 2 weeks we can easy sail without booking. And the cost is very expensive, you know. If you can imagine, if you go to a gas station, 1 ton of the marine gas oil is around $500.
Any more questions? Oh, we got one in the back, right there, Antonio. Don't be shy. Go ahead, Tic Tac.
Donna, from New Jersey.
Sorry, Peter, just 1 second. Go ahead.
From Wilcox, New Jersey. Why is the time change at 10:30 in the morning?
Why is the time change at 10:30 in the morning? Sanjay?
He asked for it.
The time change at 10:30 in the morning, what happens is, as we are going 1 hour forward, most of the guests get used to that, as well as also for the crew members too. What happens when it becomes in the night, obviously they're losing 1 hour in the night, which becomes 6 days in a row, it becomes shorter and shorter for them, you know. As well as for the guests also, it becomes very easy. They feel as if they don't lose anything. And all same goes with the crew members too. That is the reason we change. Thank you.
Go ahead, my dear.
That was my question.
Oh, that was your question. Okay. We're on the same wavelength. I like that. Antonio, you got one at the back?
Yes, Richard Booth from Nashville, Tennessee. In a ship this high profile, how much does the heading vary from the course that we're actually following?
Can you please repeat?
In a ship that's this high profile and with this amount of displacement, how much does the heading of the ship actually differ from the route that we're following?
No, it's not differing at all. I think that we're operating with a cross-track error of maybe 5 meters during this voyage. But we are going on autopilot, and of course, like now when we have swell, then the heading is going a little bit more to starboard and a little bit more to port and so on. But overall, we are following a straight line.
Have you completely finished with paper charts?
Yes and no. You could say that we have one paper chart on board that we are using, and that is a small portion of the old Bahama Channel north of Cuba, because they don't have any good electronic charts made for that little area. But otherwise we are only using electronic charts. And we also have a redundancy on that. So up on the bridge we have 3 different stations working totally independent, just in case one falls out.
Brian from Scotland. This crew are always very motivated on here. They smile a lot. They're particularly good. How do you manage to motivate them continually when they're on for several months?
It's drugs. Lots of happy pills. No, it's...
Thank you for the comment. First of all, crew is motivated. Yes, first of all, to be very frank, we just ensure that there's a training protocol in place. At the same time, we all lead by example ourselves, and we are out and about to be around them. And there's, as I said, there's a training protocol every time, and we just tell the fact what it is, you know, what is the guest demographic, what is coming, what are they going to foresee. And this is how we are keeping them constantly motivated. Plus on top, we also have crew activities for them after working hours too. So we have a crew activities, we have like a mini Walmart, and also in addition we also have a couple of crew channels, so they can watch all different movies in the crew areas or in their cabins.
Yeah, and I also want to add to that one of the programs we have in our company is that we have a very good recognition of all our crew members every 5th year, and are writing also certificates to them, and there's a lot of crew members in this fleet that have been here, let's say 20 years, 25 years, even 30 years, and that is pretty amazing. So obviously we are doing things right, and we manage to motivate people to do a good job and be happy. And for all of us sitting here, I think we have the thought that we're thinking that if we manage to get the crew happy behind the scenes, that's a criteria in a way to get happy guests. One thing is following the other thing. So it all has to do with how good we manage to work together as one team. And I used to say it really doesn't matter whether you are the captain or you are the galley utility, because you can compare it with an anchor chain with 1,250 locks. If one of them breaks, then the ship is drifting aground. So we are working after that philosophy of one team, one shipboard team. And the better we are there, and treat each other with a common respect, and better results we get.
Richard White, Fairfax, Virginia, Diamond Plus, 45 cruises on the Royal Caribbean. I choose the large ships like this one, of which I've been on here 5 times, but I don't like the promenade because I can't see outside. My favorite ships are the Radiance class and the Vision class. Is there a chance with a symphony coming now, are you all ever going to make a small ship again?
Well, you never know about the future, but I wouldn't make a bet on that. You could say that the development in Royal Caribbean International is that we have been building bigger and bigger ships. And that is today, that is the Royal Caribbean International brand, that we have the bigger ships, we have the most fancy ships, and so on. And we also need to keep in mind that when the smaller ships were coming, they were really big at that time. So we have continued that. However, in other brands, we see that they are building smaller ships than we are building. So I think that this brand will stay as it is with big ships, and then in other brands we might see smaller ships. So that is what I'm thinking about. You are totally right about that. The Empress is now going on Cuba, and we still have smaller ships. But the last couple of years we have lost 2 ships. We have lost Splendor of the Seas, and this year Legend of the Seas, that went to TUI Cruises and then to Thomson Cruises, which is a daughter of TUI Cruises. And what the future is, if you're going to take away more of the Vision class and so on, I really don't know. And when it comes to the Radiance class, well, they are special ships, and we call them for the Rolls Royces in our family, because they are built in Germany at very high standards, and the size of them is perfect in regards to the ports that they can go into. And as you say, a lot of glass and a lot of areas where you actually can look out.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Snyder from Mexico, originally Canada. 2 things. First of all, I do want to take this opportunity to thank the hotel director, because I think you're doing a terrific job. I find that the crew. The crew are marvelous. They're friendly. They're people. You can talk to them. They listen to you. They're extremely polite. The staterooms are well looked after, and of course the people serving in all of the dining facilities from all these different countries, and every one of them is always smiling and very nice. So I know that's not easy to do, and congratulations.
Thank you.
A technical question. This ship is basically electric propulsion, is that correct?
Yes, diesel electric.
So if it's diesel electric, and basically you've got several diesel generators, presumably alternators, and you're running the propulsions with synchronous machines, how do you vary the speed?
Yes, system is built like we have 6 diesel engines which driving the generators. Wärtsilä engine, each one is 20.6 kilowatt power. Total power of the ship is like more than 100,000 horsepower. 3-hour propulsion motors are simple, they are electric motors. 2 azipod and 1 fixipod. Azipod is, they are also our steering machine. That's, we can rotate them 360 degrees. The speed is variable, of course. We are adjusting this by the, it's like a frequency converter, big one for propulsion motors.
That's my question. So you're using frequency converters, because the propulsion machines are synchronous. I know this doesn't but they're synchronous machines. These are constant speed machines unless you vary the frequency. So you are using frequency converters. It's electronic.
We have a special tour. If you can join us, we can be more than happy to show you down in the engine control room, and we can talk more details about this. That's, I believe on the end of the cruise we have this back tour, and we'll be more than happy to see all of you guys.
I would in the 1960s, I did a PhD in England on ships, electrical installations on warships, and that's why I had that interest. And if there's a possibility, I'd love to visit the engine room.
But we can always make a tour in engine control room.
Yeah, well, I'm not a guest, I'm an engineer, so.
Hi, I'm Charles from Seashell, British Columbia. I had the pleasure of being assisted by one of the cadets from the bridge the other day. I was just wondering how many cadets you're training and how that program works.
The program in our fleet is that we have one deck cadet on every boat, and they also have an engine cadet program. So that is how that works.
We have a question right over here. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, as a boy living in New York City in the 50s, I remembered that I've been on one or two ships, the Raffaello, the Leonardo da Vinci, and I think there was the Giulio Cesare, the Italian line, the magnificent ships, and of course the QE. The ships today, how do they stack up against the ships of that era?
Well, the ships from that time and today, they can't compare. You could say that in older days and until you could say late 70s, they still built ships, the so-called Atlantic crossing vessels, where you had the main deck that was curved. But they stopped that in the late 70s, and one of the reasons for that is that we wanted to make it as comfortable as possible for the guests. But at the same time, there has been a lot of new regulations coming into place for safety of life at sea. And every time there have been, you could say, disasters happening at sea, it has led to new systems, new constructions, and so on and so on. Yes, Andrea Doria collided with a cargo vessel called Stockholm and so on. And, well, you know, they didn't survive. Same as Titanic. It was built in a way that it couldn't survive. And also the sister ship with Titanic. When they got problems, it took 3 hours, you know. So, the demands and regulations, they have just been stronger and stronger as we have moved on. So today we have a totally different type of ships than we had in the older days. But however, we still see that you have some cruise ships that are very old going around, but they have actually invested a lot of money in those ships in order to have them to comply with today's safety standards.
All right, we have a question over here.
John Wilding, England. I noticed that the bigger ships, like the Allure, only occasionally seem to come to Europe. Is it because of the ports, or is it policy, or a financial thing?
The general reason is what you are saying. It is because of the size of the ports. However, there are some ports in Europe that have accommodated the big ships. They have invested in a lot of dredging, and they have built pier facilities and so on. And that's the reason why we had, as an example, Allure of the Seas taking one summer season in Europe. But it's very limited, the ports a ship of that size can go to. Also, we had Harmony of the Seas that was going there. And I'm not sure about Symphony of the Seas, but she's coming late next year. So I think that she will depart Europe immediately. But in general, it has to do with port facilities.
We do have time for a couple more questions.
Yeah, my name is Ruth from Israel, and my question is, we just wondered, we have been traveling for the whole week without stopping, without seeing a land. So how do you keep such amount, a lot of food being fresh? Like, without getting supplies, right, for the week, like fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. How come? It's a wonder.
We have stock enough, I can tell you that. What we do is when we reach Miami, we have loaded tons of all the groceries and what we need for the entire voyage for the 14 days. And we have over 27 freezers and fridges downstairs to keep it nice and fresh and frozen. So that's the way it is. It is in deck 1 and deck 0.
All right, question right over here.
My name is Julia. I graduate with a degree in mechanical engineering in the fall. Can I have a job?
Yes, you're hired.
Yeah, if you're an engineer, you speak with the chief engineer and he can tell you the way to go. But in general, we have a website for rcclcareers.com, and there you can upload your CV and apply for a job in the company. Because we're always looking for good people, so go for it.
All right, question over here.
Hi, I'm Leslie from England, just below London. In 2011, we spent Christmas on the Independence. It's actually in the Mediterranean. Fantastic, very loyal to Royal Caribbean. But I now have to travel over to the US or further afield to spend Christmas. Please, can we have a few Christmas cruises coming out of the Mediterranean or the UK?
Well, thank you for the comment. Obviously, going forward, most of this time, what happens, most of the ships, when they come to Europe, they leave usually in the end of October or November. And if that's what you want, or many of the guests who wants, you can always feel free to write the comment, and obviously we can also pass on the message to the deployment team.
So, Antonio, can you give away the microphone 1 second?
I was on last year's presidential cruise. I did ask Michael Bailey for this request, but I'm not quite too certain how far in advance you schedule.
And not only that, and I think the second reason also from the weather also, whether we can sail at that particular time. I guess we have some limitation with the weather.
You could say that, of course, if you say across the Atlantic year-round, but if you start to do the crossing later than November, then it will be rough.
No, I do understand that. I mean, the one I went in the Mediterranean in 2011, I'm not talking about going to the UK, I'm talking Spain, down in the Med, Italy. It was superb and it was very well supported, and there's probably a lot of older members that support Royal Caribbean that do not want to travel on an aeroplane over Christmas but would like facilities to do that. It's just a request.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And as I mentioned, that we will pass on the message, and I think more and more guests will talk about it to the company. Obviously, that's how the deployment team works. Where the demand is, that's where they're putting the ships on.
Yeah, I can add to that it has happened that we have had ships more or less year-round in the Mediterranean. So I believe that it is a business decision that they have made. If there is a demand and so on, I'm pretty sure that they will look into it. And we also see that you have a couple of cruise companies that have year-round ships in the Mediterranean. So obviously there is a market, but then again, it's a corporate decision, and as Sanjay say, write a comment about it, and we will also make sure that we follow it up.
All right, time for about 2 more questions. Right down here. Please take that.
My name is Bridget. I'm from Detroit. And I was wondering, how are you paying into people's retirement systems since they're from so many different countries?
I don't want to talk about wages or anything like that. That is something that is private for people, yes. But we do have a system, yes, in place.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All right, you do have time for one more question. We have it right back there.
These repositioning cruises are really quite enjoyable, and I understand that you only do them to meet the market changes, seasonal changes. Do you see in the future more of these coming into the program that don't reflect just repositioning or transatlantic?
Once again, those things, that's corporate decisions, and I think that all the time they're looking at the need for ships in the different places of the world, and we are doing a seasonal repositioning, and it is limited in a way, in regards to how many guests we can expect on those tours, those cruises, due to the length of them. So I really don't know. Maybe you have something to add, Sanjay.
No, as the captain mentioned, we are doing only seasonal cruises. Our ships actually do. I think at this stage we have 7 ships heading to Europe. So 7 ships, almost all the ships are heading at the same time and coming back also at the same time to US. So at this time we don't have anything planned to do this on a continuous basis.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, again, we had to let these guys go back. They had to drink some more coffee. But please do me a favor, give me a huge round of applause, and please give it up for our chief engineer, our hotel director, and of course, our captain, Captain John Mullins. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for coming out this afternoon. Thank you all for coming out to Captain's Corner. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the rest of your cruise, everybody. And we're not even halfway done. We'll see you around the ship today. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to keep these videos coming. You can also follow me on Facebook. The link is in the description below.